what that consists of. So again, today's webinar is making the most out of your subscription management. Um, we may finish a little bit before the 30-minute cap that we have. The few learning objectives that we have are learning public versus private publications, along with how to create a publication and adding the publications to your forms. Mainly publications are used when you have sign up forms that you have associated with your web page to your data bank. So those are going to be our primary objectives today. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the little comment box. So my name is Maria, and let's go ahead and get started. So primarily, the main sections you're going to be working with when it comes down to publications and creating and rearranging any sort of existing publications, that's going to be located under the communication dropdown. So under the communication dropdown, not only can you find the Power Mail functionality, which is primarily used to reach out to your constituents via mail. You also have the mail merge option, which again, it's used to create mail merge letters depending on what the purpose of that you're looking for is. There's different mail merge templates that you can use. The A/B testing, that correlates to again creating similar versions of one Power Mail, but just with different headlines and understanding the different number statistics that happen with the results page as far as open rates when different naming conventions are used. Mailing labels, that's pretty much what it sounds like. And then we have publications. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and click on their publications page. Depending on your publications page within your data bank, this may or may not look similar, but ideally there are a few different publications associated with your data bank depending on the type of information that gets relayed to your constituents and contacts. So pretty much here we have different kinds of publications, right? So you can see that there's newsletter, actions, alerts. Pretty much this empowers your constituents to decide which of your publications they are going to subscribe to. So what's really, really, really important to get out of this is that it's really better to send out 5 different emails to 6,000 contacts instead of one email to 20,000 contacts. That doesn't really give them the information that one they may have subscribed to or are interested in. So this leads to better engagement. And so one of the reasons why I have to have different publications is so if they unsubscribe from one publication, they don't necessarily unsubscribe from all of your publications, right? So this allows you to still reach out to them, provide the necessary information that your organization may want to relay. And that way, with the different kinds of publications, so in this case, we have monthly e-news, annual report, and random invitations. That way, we don't include it in just one publication that gets sent out and then just like, oh, I'm just not interested in any of the information that they're sending me. But they're actually interested in the yearly report that you send out once a year. So that's the reason why to go ahead and have the different kinds of publications. So here within the publication setup page, this is going to be the main page where you can manage the different publications. So here you have the publication names. So here you have sophisticated controls, so you can understand where these publications are shown and in what forms. So as an example, let's go ahead and select monthly e-news. I click on the forms hyperlink, and it's going to open all the forms associated to my data bank, and it's going to let me know via this little checkbox located on the far left, um, which publication has the opportunity to sign up for the monthly e-news. So if there was only one form that I wanted this publication to show up, I would go ahead and make those necessary changes by unchecking all of these boxes and checking the one that I want to go ahead and do. So in this case, um, let's just take an example, donate to our nonprofit. I'm going to go ahead and view, and it's going to go ahead and open that form that this publication is associated with. And then we have, okay, the monthly e-news is located here. It's the type of publication associated with this donation form. Again, it's just one of the few things that you can manage within the publication forms, and all I did was click on the forms hyperlink located within the publication column. Another thing to keep in mind within this publication setup page is if we scroll down, we can go ahead and view the private publications as well. So at the top section, we go ahead and understand that these are the public publications. So individuals can opt in and opt out of the public publications. You can determine which forms your public publications can be associated to. The difference between that and the private publications is that only someone logged into your data bank can subscribe individuals to a private publication. The individuals always have the ability to opt out from a private publication that they may be subscribed to. But as an example, if I am Maria, the administrator of our nonprofit, Marcy Smith, that's a constituent or a potential subscriber, cannot go ahead and subscribe to the private publication through a front-facing form because that's not an option to a private publication. Only databank staff that use your databank can go ahead and do that. So the follow-up question that comes from this is like, well, how do I go ahead and subscribe a group of people that I want to subscribe to this private publication? So to go ahead and do that, I'm just going to go ahead and open the search dropdown and open in a new tab. And I am just going to go ahead and use the issues of interest. So, because I know one of the private publications was community leaders or organization members, I'm just going to go ahead and say, okay, one of the issues of interest is going to be the environment, right? And if I wanted to, I could build upon my search query, but for the demonstration purposes, we just need a group of contacts that we can select. So we have 188 contacts, right? And I'm going to go back to my publications page and just click a quick refresh. And so now I can go ahead and do a few things. I could go ahead and subscribe them to a public or unsubscribe them from that specific public publication. But what I just want to go ahead and do is I just want to go ahead and subscribe them to this private. And if it's ever the case that you or someone from your organization wants to know when someone has unsubscribed from a private publication, you can go ahead and import their email here in this field, and it will send them a notice letting them know Marcy Smith at ournonprofit.org has unsubscribed from community leaders. again, it's optional, it's not required or mandatory. So I'm just going to go ahead and click save. So it's going to go ahead and update these contact records for that publication sign up. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to go into this H&R Brush Foundation contact record just to verify. Click on subscriptions. Scroll down and we can go ahead and see that they are part of the community leaders private publications. So that's again one thing of the things that you can do within this particular page. As you may have seen, both have the add box located at the very bottom of the list. So if you want to create a brand new publication, you enter the name here. You can also sort these into different list orders. So they go by numerical order. So the least amount of numbers goes first, and then the greatest goes all the way to the last of the list. So this pretty much goes ahead and allows us to go ahead and one, add new publications, rearrange our publications order, subscribed, unsubscribed our contact selections pertaining to these publications themselves, view which forms this publication may be associated with, and two, if I wanted to go ahead and get rid of a certain publication, just click on that um, delete checkbox located next to the one you want that publication to be deleted from. Click save. Are you sure you want to delete the selected publications? Yes, I am sure. And it goes ahead and removes that from your database. So again, just to recap, that's what this particular publication setup page does. Another thing to keep in mind is that while you can go ahead and batch subscribe and unsubscribe these records, if it's ever the case that you need to do it for just one particular record and you don't want to go to the selection and then to the communication drop down and then to the publications page, you can always just go to their subscriptions tab. So similar to the H&R Brush Foundation, every contact has that same subscription tab. The publications themselves may not match to the one, the previous contact or the contact after, but it definitely allows you to go ahead and unsubscribe or subscribe them manually. So another example that I do want to go ahead and show just before I go ahead and touch base a little bit on the histories of unsubscribes is showing you. Let me go ahead and showing you one of the forms that would pretty much allow you to see um, how the sign up forms have these publications associated with it. So right now I'm on my forms section, and what I'm going to do is click sign up, and this is one of our sign up forms. And here is pretty much to sign up to receive communications, right? So here's the type of emails you like to receive, right? And these are just the different kinds of publications associated with it. If it's ever the case that one, you already know which form you want to update and don't necessarily want to go to the publications page and try to find it via that means, you can always go to the form itself, go to the personal tab, and towards the bottom of the page, it will go ahead and ask you, allow you to check off which publications you want to go ahead and also show, right? So select the publications contact can subscribe to this form. it is recommended to at least have one option if you are including the subscriptions. You can disregard to include subscriptions if you want from a specific form. But in order to do so, you have to go ahead and check this checkbox off. The position, you can go ahead and rearrange where you want the subscription to be placed within your form. Again, these you do have the ability to auto subscribe to contact to the selected publications without showing the checkboxes. So what this means is, let's say this was a donation form per se, and you are having donors donate, and by having the contacts constituents donate, you're pretty much giving you permission to contact them in the future, for thanking them for their donation. So if at any point in time you want to like auto subscribe them to the annual report or yearly report slash fundraising newsletter, and you just don't want them to have the ability to subscribe themselves, you can just click on the auto subscribe, and rather than having them check it off, it would just not show the options but subscribe them. So you can learn a little bit more about that by clicking on this article that is provided through the hyperlink, and learn a little bit about that as well. So the last thing that I want to cover before we go ahead and conclude this webinar is the unsubscribe preferences, right? So if we go to search and we click on activities, under the, I believe is activity type. Yes, so the activity type located at the very bottom. So activity type, the activity types located at the top list are activity types generated by users from your data bank. So the difference between the top list and the list where it says system values is that system values is going to be activity types associated to activity nodes that the system slash database generates for you. So for instance, if an email bounced back, they would have the bounce check. Or if this email was a BCC or activity note, then that would be the system value generated. The two to keep in mind is or the three that we're going to be talking about primarily today is going to be the subscribe prefs. So this means that the contact subscribed to the publication listed in the note section. And then we have the unsub. So this is where the contact unsubscribed from the publication within the note after receiving the publication in a power mail. Then we have unsub other. This is where the contact unsubscribed from the publication in the note after receiving a different publication in power mail. And then unsubscribe, that's pretty much just going to be like a generic unsubscribed, whether they got a thank you letter or a thank you notice from a registration, and they just went ahead and clicked and unsubscribed. So if you ever do want to build a query based on unsubscribes, pretty much these are, like I said, pretty much the same thing, just different means of unsubscribing or ways that they unsubscribe from. So one is from a different power mail, and then one's from like the power mail. There is a support article within our support center that touch base on the activity types. Let me see if I can actually pull it. But if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to type it in the little chat box and we can go ahead and discuss it. I think there's one. So yes, once you select your group, can you easily add or delete individuals from the group? So the answer is yes. So once you select your group, what you would want to do is once you have the list of your selected contacts, you can go ahead and remove them from your selection, so that way they're not part of the group. Or if it's like another search criteria that you are aware of where you know it would remove a group of individuals, you would then build upon your search to remove those individuals based on the selection mode. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Let me just look the on the support article. Otherwise, I know I have the emails of both of you, so I can definitely follow up after this webinar and send it to you. Just because I know, okay, I think I found it. So I think let me go ahead. So the article name that that you'd be looking for is going to be understanding system activity values. And so this top section is going to go over what the activity values mean and so forth. But we just kind of went over that through the webinar itself. But here you can go ahead and see the different kinds of activity types that we just walked over, but a little bit more in depth. So we have the change subscription preference in their subscription form. Again, soft bounce, hard bounce, so forth. So it goes a little bit more in depth, this particular list, than the one that I just covered because we mainly just covered the subscribes. So feel free to definitely use this in the future if you want to, build queries based upon those system generated activity types. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll just stick around.